Hello everyone and welcome to this segment of my channel today. A few weeks ago I dropped a video chronicling the differences between UK and Spain. And I had a lot of people asking me to talk about my experience in Spain, talk about how I got to Spain, talk about how they can get jobs in Spain. I want to say here that even though a lot of people are asking how they can get English teaching jobs in Spain, I do not teach English in Spain. I'm a maths and computing teacher and I teach at an international school here in Spain. For the purpose of this video, I have tried to get as much information as I can on teaching English in Spain. I usually advise people that there are lots of international schools in Spain and it's nice for them to get in touch with being an international school teacher so that they can get on the ladder. The difference between an international school teacher and a public school teacher is in a video that I have released already. So you want to head up there to see what the difference is between teaching at an international school or teaching at a public school, or teaching the international curriculum and the difference between that and teaching the national curriculum of any country. Now, today I want to talk about teaching in Spain in general and all the different options that are available for you if you decide to come to Spain to teach. Now, first of all, before we start, I got a lot of questions asking if I have to learn Spanish to teach in Spain. I do not teach at a public school, so I do not need to learn Spanish. In fact, schools prefer it if you do not speak Spanish at all, because the international schools run an immersion program where they teach in English and they want children to learn how to speak in English. Speaking in Spanish, they feel will slow the children's progress, so they prefer English speakers who do not speak Spanish really well, so that you can immerse the children in the classroom in the new language that they want you to teach them. So I did not study Spanish before coming to Spain. In fact, because I'd lived in Venezuela, I spoke Venezuelan Spanish, which for anyone who knows Spanish, it's different. It's like speaking a whole new dialect of Spanish. Where they call cars carro, here they call cars coche. Where you have a lisp when you talk, over there they pronounce the anglicized version of the word. So there were so many things I had to unlearn. I had to drop so many things that I learned in Latin America when I picked up Spanish over there, and it slowed my progress because every time I had to keep thinking, what do you say over there and how do they say it over here, and my brain kept shifting between both, and it just slowed my progress. So if you're coming to Spain and you want to speak Castellano, which is the Spanish dialect that's widely spoken in Spain, it's best if you do not go on Duolingo and just pick up any Spanish. It's good for you to go on there and actually look for Spanish with the Spanish flag beside it. And you don't want that if you're coming to Spain, or else people won't understand you, or they might think you're speaking street Spanish, which is what they call it here. Someone else asked me if I had to do a special program to teach in Spain. Because I teach at an international school, I did not have to do any other program to get into teaching in Spain. I have a PGCE with QT from a university in the UK, and this gave me the right to teach at a British school. In fact, this gives me a right to teach at any school across the world because of the gold standard of the PGCE. Now, if you want to teach in a public school in Spain, you might need to do the opciones, and this way you get to learn the language. You have to have a bit of the language, or you have to know how to speak the Spanish language if you're going to be teaching in the school. However, if you're going to be teaching English as a foreign language in schools in Spain, you don't need to do the opciones to do that. So in essence, there are three ways to teach in Spain. You can either teach in the public school system, or the private school system, or the international school system, or you can do something called the half and half, where it's half private and it's half public. And yeah, the parents love it because the children still have the feel of a private school with all the different options available to them, whereas it's still being sponsored by the government, so fees are subsidized. The private schools are, or the independent schools, or the international schools are fully So there's a private school where everything is in Spanish, but then there's the international schools where everything is in English. So does that make it four options, I guess? Yeah. So private, public, half private, half public, and then international schools. There are different types of international schools in Spain. There's the German international school, the French international school, the British international school, the American international school, and all those different types of international schools where they teach the curriculum, or where they teach the international curriculum in these schools. If you want to know the difference between the international curriculum and the national curriculum, you want to head over to this video, which I released before, and it will give you a breakdown of the differences between the two. Now, let's get into each category so you know what to do when you come to Spain. Before you come to teach in Spain, you have to first think of where you want to go. So you think about these options that I've already given you. And if you decide that you don't want to do the opciones is an exam. You have to take an exam. It's more like the QTS skills test in the UK, or the skills test in Australia, and all the different skills tests in different countries around the world. If you don't want to do that, then you might want to go into a private school where it's all in Spanish, and then you are hired there as a foreign teacher, either to teach French or English or any language that the school decides for you to teach, or you go to the international schools. If you don't want to do that and you feel like your Spanish is strong enough, you want to go into the public school system, you have to take the exam. When you take the exam, then you'll be put into like a lottery system, and then they will pick you and you become a Spanish teacher in the public school system, and you have your job for life. Nothing is going to take that job away from you unless you do something really, 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 really terrible. Most teachers in Spain like to go into the public school system. Now, I'll go to the next one, which is the half and half. The half and half school, which is the private school, or they call it I think the concertado schools, I think, are the ones where it's a privately owned, publicly funded school, sort of like the charters in the US. Now, you need to do a lot of research on this if you're going to come, but I'm going to give you the brief of what I found out from living here and having friends here who talk about all the different options. So the privately funded public schools are private schools or publicly funded private schools. So these are private schools run by private, maybe like church or organizations, but then they have a grant from the government to keep the costs at a minimum. They still pay fees at these schools, but the government regulates the fees at this school. That means these schools might not have the big budgets that the international schools would have, or that the private schools will have. Then in Spain, they still have the private schools. It's a private Spanish school, something like you have the independent schools in the UK or the private schools in the US. These schools have the bigger budgets, and they hire teachers from all over the world. And if you want to get in touch with any of the schools, I'm going to leave the link down below. Now, if you're a teacher coming to teach in Spain and you want to access any of these schools, there are two main organizations that I would recommend you get on. The first one is the NCAP, and this hires teachers mainly from North America, so Canada and the US, and they have a bilateral agreement with these two countries to bring teachers in who work as language assistants here. Now, it's a 1 year program, but they're supervised in the classroom while they are teaching. Some of them don't really need to teach anything. They just need to have conversations with the children. So they don't really need to come up with lesson plans. You just come in and children will ask you questions. You might want to just talk about where you're from one day, and then the children get to listen and you get to ask them questions, and you just have a conversation with them. The older generation didn't really put emphasis on learning the English language. But then as we realized, English is the language of business, and because they want to give their children they want to give the younger generation the opportunity to be able to access this language of business and be part of the global market. Most of them have this emphasis where they want their children to learn English. So more schools are picking up that English language option so that the children are exposed to English from early on. It's not up to the level of schools in Scandinavia or Denmark where the proficiency in English is really, really high, or the Netherlands. No, Spain is not up there yet, but we're working on it. That's why we have expert teachers in here, and you should be part of us too. The next one is Medas. Medas works with the private schools. Now you want to get on Medas. It also has a bonus to it, which I really like. So if you're a graduate from your home country and you want to come to Spain to teach, especially if you're from an English speaking country. Now, remember, in Spain, they will call you a native English speaker if you're from an English speaking country. So countries like Nigeria, Ghana, India, you're classed as an coming from a native English speaking country because you speak English. English is an official language in your country. So take advantage of this. You need to get on Medeas as quickly as possible because this is oversubscribed and you want to jump on it before it gets really full. I will leave the details and the dates in the description box, and I'll pin it in the comment below. So you want to jump on that. So they will facilitate you going into a private school in Spain, not an international school, a private school in Spain, where you will then get on a program, a 1-year program of being a language assistant as well. But the difference between the Medeas and the NCAP is that with the Medeas, you will also be on a teacher training program, of which at the end of your time on the Medeas program, you will graduate with a teaching certificate. When I heard about this, I thought, oh, this is a good thing. And I know audience will be really, really interested in this, especially those who do not have teaching qualifications at the moment. You might want to jump on this as you will be given a service and you will be getting a qualification at the end of the day. Your teaching hours will usually be between 20 hours to 24 hours. You don't really have a lot of hours to teach because they believe that you need time to go and study. So you're sort of like a working study visa or study work visa, a half and half kind of thing. The next one is the Erasmus. If you're an Erasmus student or an Erasmus teacher, you will be placed in a school around Spain, and you could either be in the half and half school or the private schools. Not many public schools take Erasmus students. However, a lot of other schools, even the international schools, take Erasmus students, where you would come in and you will work for a year and you would get to know Spain, you would get to understand Spain, and you will provide a service. You'll be teaching in the classroom with the teachers. You'll be teaching something that's already planned, or some schools will let you plan. It depends on where you are. I think if you're in a school in Madrid, you do a lot more conversational instruction, while if you're in a school outside of Madrid, you do a lot more of the teaching. However, you want to teach, and this is an opportunity for you to teach. So this is a good thing for you to jump on. Now, there's also the RVF International, and you need to know the deadlines to get on this, all of this. Now, my personal favorite, which is, you've come to my neck of the woods now, is the test. I am an international school teacher and I teach at an international school in Spain at the moment. I do not teach English. I do not need to get TEFL. I do not need to get TESOL or CELTA. I just need to have a teaching qualification. And to get in on internet, to get a job at an international school in Spain, you just need to be a certified teacher in your home country. If you're a certified teacher in your home country and you have at least 9 months of experience, you can come to Spain and you can teach. The best way for you to get jobs for this is on tests or Teach Abroad, Teach Away, Go Teach, and all the different websites, which I will be leaving down below. As an international school teacher in Spain, you earn a lot more than all the other groups that I've mentioned or so far. You are in a different class of teachers where the school will get your visa for you and they have to prove why they need to hire you. And usually the reason why they prove that they need to hire you is that you not only teach the subjects and you have the pedagogy to teach the subjects that they offer at the school, subjects like maths, English, or geography or science, and all those other things, you probably have an international teaching certificate. So you could have the PGCE or the K to 12 or the all the other different categories. You could have a teaching qualification from the US, from the UK, from wherever you're from. So that means you have an international teaching or a foreign teaching certificate. Now, they will prove to the government that they need you to teach your subject in English. So you're not teaching English, you're teaching your subject, but you're teaching it in English. And this is especially good if you're a country where they speak English or they teach. You can access all these jobs on TESS, and I'll be leaving them down below. My experience of teaching in Spain so far has been brilliant. I think that of all the countries where I've taught, I like Spain. I like all the different countries where I've taught, but I like Spain especially because my children thrived here the most. My children enjoyed Spain the most because the weather is not harsh. The children who they hang around are really, really good. Spain allows children to be children. They have the community that I felt they were missing because we left Nigeria. It's not an insular country like we had in Norway where you have to really make an effort to know people. It's not a country where we were seen as it's not a country where there's a culture of that people like me are only belong to a particular group of people who should not be in some space. It was just like a midpoint for all the different things that I wanted. And finally, my husband wants to retire here. He already had a plan because when he was a boy, he used to come to Spain for summers. So every member of my family has something that they like about being in Spain. So that's the reason why I'm in Spain. Would I love to go to other countries? I mean, I can. It's open. I can. I've got the certification. I've got the experience. I can go to any country I want to, but Spain will still be my base. I'm also a permanent resident here, and it's all happened with teaching. So I hope I've answered most of the questions that were posed to me. I wrote them down so that I would not forget anyone. And if you have any questions at all about teaching in Spain, which I haven't answered, please leave it in the description box below and I shall do my best to answer it or create another video to address that particular question. If you want to learn more about teaching abroad, thriving abroad, knowing how to navigate cultures abroad, please like, share, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I release a new video. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I shall see you in the next episode. Bye.